What if I told you that gospel's golden couple, the so-called picture-perfect family that church folks once swore could never be touched, has just collapsed in a courtroom of all places? Yeah, you heard me. Forget the polished smiles, forget the matching choir robes, and forget the wholesome sitcom vibes. Because Tamela just dragged her own husband into the harshest spotlight of his life. And Tiffany, she didn't just whisper. She didn't just hit. She came armed with receipts that sent shockwaves through that courtroom louder than a reality TV reunion brawl. Now ask yourself this. How do you go from being America's favorite gospel clown, yes, David Mr. Brown Man, the man who made folks laugh from church pews to TV screens, to becoming the headline star of an abuse scandal so explosive it makes TMZ look like Sunday school? How do you go from preaching about unity, family, and faith, to your own stepdaughter standing up in court saying, "I've got proof this man hurt me"? Buckle in, because this isn't just family drama. This is the gospel industry's Titanic hitting the iceberg, and it's going down fast. From flashing police sirens to courtroom bombshells, from worship anthems to hashtags screaming for justice, this story has it all. And trust me, you're not ready for what's coming next. Picture it. The Mann family. Gospel royalty. The couple that built an empire from church stages, turning Sunday morning praise breaks into primetime entertainment and big business. The family that made you laugh, cry, and believe in faith-filled marriages. To the outside world, Tamela and David Mann weren't just celebrities. They were the gospel equivalent of Beyonce and Jay-Z, untouchable, unstoppable. The power couple of faith and music. But behind that haloed image, something was festering. And it took Tiffany, the quiet daughter in the shadows, to step into a courtroom, hands trembling but steady with evidence, and rip the mask clean off. Let's rewind. David Mann, Mr. Brown, the goofy, loud, lovable clown who wore his suspenders high and his faith on his sleeve. The husband who stood beside Tamela as she belted out gospel hits that could rattle the heavens. That's the man fans thought they knew. But now, that same man is accused of harboring a dark secret one no Tyler Perry script could ever prepare. US 4. And then there's Tiffany. For years, she was the name you rarely heard, the face not always seen in family portraits. The stepdaughter kept at the edges of the Mann empire. She wasn't on every red carpet. She wasn't on every stage tour. Almost as if she'd been cropped out of the picture-perfect gospel sitcom. But Tiffany had her own story. And when she finally chose to speak, she didn't just raise her voice. She dropped the bomb so devastating the entire gospel industry is still choking on the fallout. It started in whispers, social media threads, cryptic posts, observations like, "Why doesn't Tiffany ever smile in family photos?" Or "Why doesn't David ever mention her in interviews?" Little red flags brushed aside because, hey, every family is drama, right? Wrong, because this wasn't ordinary drama. This was destruction disguised in silence. And in that courtroom, Tiffany reportedly stood tall, not as the forgotten daughter, not as the quiet figure in the background, but as a woman with proof. And the kicker, she claimed David Mann didn't just neglect her. He didn't just push her aside. He heard her. She said it plainly, boldly, and with receipts. Proof that made jaws drop, reporters scribble, and the internet erupt in chaos. So, how did we get here? How did we tumble from gospel tours and matching family outfits to domestic violence charges and courtroom revelations? Let's trace it. Remember those interviews where David Mann went on about faith, loyalty, and family values? The public sermons where he and Tamela stood side by side as role models for blended families. Those clips now play back like bitter irony. Suddenly, Tiffany's absence is glaring. Suddenly, those jokes about being a stepdad don't feel funny. Suddenly, silence screams louder than gospel choirs. And the gospel world, honey, they're devouring every detail like a Sunday potluck feast. Fans are split right down the middle. Half are praying it isn't true, desperate to hold on to the image of David, Mr. Brown, as the harmless, lovable church comedian. The other half, they're saying, we always knew something was wrong because pain doesn't come out of nowhere. And insiders, though, they've been whispering for years. Allegedly, a former crew member claimed Tiffany was always pushed aside during tours, rarely allowed to travel, and treated like an outsider. Another insider said David had a temper that the same man who made people laugh could, behind closed doors, be terrifying when angry. Whether all those claims can be proven in court almost doesn't matter anymore. Because once Tiffany's sworn testimony hit the record, speculation turned to certainty for many. This wasn't just, "He didn't treat me like a daughter." This was, "He abused me, physically hurt me, and I can prove it." Mic drop. Courtroom in shock. Internet in flames. And here's where the story turns catastrophic. Tiffany's testimony forced Tamela into an impossible position. Stand by her husband, the man she built an empire and a marriage with. Or stand by her daughter, the child she raised, now exposing years of silent wounds. And Tamela chose Tiffany. Gospel's queen of faith looked the world in the eye and declared, "I believe my child." She didn't just say it. She doubled down. She reportedly released a raw, emotional video backing Tiffany's story, explaining why she can no longer protect her husband's image. The internet combusted. Hashtag justice for Tiffany. Hashtag Tamela speaks. Hashtag exposedivid. Hashtag spread like wildfire. Twitter spiraled. TikTok exploded with breakdowns. Facebook annies wrote entire sermons in the comments. Some refused to believe. Others said, finally, the truth, but nobody could ignore it, and that brings us to now. A gospel family once idolized as untouchable now stands in the middle of a storm. So massive even their faith-forged image can't withstand it. Tiffany's truth is out. Tamela's loyalty is to her daughter. And David Mann, the gospel world's favorite funny man, isn't laughing anymore. But if you thought the internet outrage was the end, think again. Because the moment Tiffany's testimony hit the public record, so-called investigative leaks started surfacing. Bloggers, YouTube commentators, gossip channels, even church WhatsApp groups turned into digital detectives overnight. They dug up interviews, old receipts, and even financial records. And what they uncovered made one thing painfully clear. The Mann family's perfect gospel brand is shattered. Not cracked, shattered. First up, the money. Because let's be real, in scandals like these, it always starts with the cash. Allegedly, David Mann has been living far larger than any gospel paycheck should allow. Private jets, business trips nobody can explain, and a shady paper trail of shell companies, with names so obvious they make a Netflix writer blush. One was literally called Brown Enterprises LLC. Subtle, right? While the public was still side-eyeing those leaks, more voices came forward. A supposed former assistant claimed David would fly into rages anytime finances were questioned. One story, he slammed the Bible shut so violently that pages ripped when Tamela asked about missing funds. Whether that's true or not, the mental image of Mr. Brown going WWE on the good book was enough to keep Twitter meme factories running over time, but the drama wasn't just financial. Enter Tiffany. In court, she said David heard her. Soon after, screenshots began circulating alleged group texts Tiffany sent years ago, describing abuse that was anything but discipline. In one she wrote, "He thinks hitting me will make me respect him. It only made me hate him more, if authentic." That means her testimony wasn't some spur-of-the-moment revelation. It was pain she'd carried for years, and then came the video. Tamela Mann, no makeup, tears streaming. Speaking from her living room, "I stood by my husband for decades, but I will not stand by him at the expense of my child's truth." Boom, mic drop. Overnight, the gospel world's golden voice singer became a warrior mother willing to risk her marriage, her career, even her endorsements for her daughter, David's legal team. Panic, reports claim they tried to shut it down with cease and desist letters. But once TikTok gets hold of a scandal, it's game over. The clip was everywhere stitched, remixed, even parodied by choirs. Insiders say promoters began quietly pulling David's name from shows. Sponsors vanished. Even Tamela faced backlash, with rumors that festivals considered dropping her not because they doubted her, but because the scandal was too messy. Imagine that, the truth teller punished. While the accused hides behind lawyers, meanwhile, the public picks sides. David's defenders filled Facebook threads with "the devil is attacking this marriage. Pray, don't judge." On the other side, a flood of support for Tiffany. "We believe you. Stay strong. You're not alone." Celebrities jumped in too. One gospel artist tweeted, "Truth always comes to light." An actor wrote, "If Tiffany is brave enough to speak, we'd better be brave enough to listen." And the memes. Endless. David's goofy Mr. Brown face slapped with captions like, "When your gospel hero turns out to be the villain." Through it all, David stayed silent. No press conferences, no Instagram lives, nothing, and in scandal culture, silence often equals guilt in the court of public opinion behind the scenes. The fallout was seismic. Court transcripts show Tiffany brought more than words, screenshots, journals, photos of alleged abuse. Prosecutors are said to be reviewing whether it's enough for criminal charges. Imagine David Mann, Mr. Brown himself, trading costumes for an orange jumpsuit. His lawyers are pushing the usual narrative. Tiffany is bitter, seeking attention. Classic victim blaming. But they underestimated the receipts. This isn't he said, she said. This is she said, and here's proof. Time-stamped messages, bruises, documentation, game over. Tamela's role has only amplified the divide. To some, she's a hero mother who put her child's truth first. To others, she's a traitor who betrayed her husband. The hypocrisy is thick. If the roles were reversed, if Tamela were accused, she'd have been canceled in a heartbeat. Industry insiders say 3 major festivals already scrubbed David from their lineups. A Christian label is even reviewing Tamela's contract not out of disbelief, but fear of bad optics. Translation, money still talks louder than truth. And so, the empire that once sold unity, love, and faith is now selling something else entirely. Chaos, controversy, and courtroom drama. The mask has slipped. The halo is tilted. And the audience, they can't look away. Even gospel loyalty has its limits. And just when you thought things couldn't get darker, the internet detectives clocked in. Old clips of David cracking jokes about disciplining kids resurfaced. Jokes folks once laughed at now look like evidence. Served with side-eye sharper than a church usher on Easter Sunday. And then silence broken. Sort of. David didn't speak. His PR team did. Because come on, you think he's hunched over a laptop while his career is on fire? Please. The statement hit all the predictable notes. The allegations are false, hurtful, and an attack on my family and faith. I've always strived to be a man of integrity, and I trust the truth will prevail. Cue the world's smallest violin. The internet didn't buy it for a second. Within minutes, #DavidLies was trending. Parody videos paired a statement with clips of Tamela crying. Memes plastered his Mr. Brown face alongside the words. And TikTok. Oh, TikTok turned the whole mess into a dance challenge. Yes, there's literally a viral routine right now with people mouthing "I believe my child" over a gospel beat. That's the absurdity we've reached, but beneath the mockery, the real consequences are building. Legal experts warn, if the charges stick, David won't just face fines, he could face prison time. And that's not just a wobble for the Mann brand, that's collapse. Tours gone. TV bookings erased. Endorsements vanished. Even reruns might get yanked if networks decide the stink is too strong. And what about the marriage? Tamela has drawn her line in the sand. She's with Tiffany. But that loyalty comes at a cost. Decades of building a brand, a family, a ministry up in smoke. Church leaders are being forced to pick sides. Some call for prayer. Others call for accountability. One pastor even went viral saying, "This is what happens when men hide behind the pulpit but refuse to live the truth at home." Brutal, but accurate. Meanwhile, Tiffany, once the overlooked daughter, is now the face of survival. Her socials are blowing up. Fans beg her to write a book, launch a podcast, tell her story. If she plays it right, she can move from family outcast to cultural icon. The irony writes itself. So what happens next? Investigations continue. Court dates loom. Rumors swirl. Will David cut a plea deal or drag it out hoping people forget? But let's be honest, this isn't the kind of scandal people just move past. Not with gospel royalty. Not with receipts. Not with Tamela herself standing behind Tiffany. And that's the moral here. Truth doesn't stay buried. No matter how glossy the family portraits, how holy the music, if the foundation is rotten, the house will fall. And the Mann mansion, it's collapsing brick by brick, live streamed for the world. So grab your popcorn, because this isn't over. Not by a long shot. Tiffany spoke. Tamela backed her up. And David, he's either lawyering up or hiding under that Mr. Brown wig because silence won't save him now. But here's the question. What do you think? Is this the shocking downfall of gospel royalty? Or just another scandal the church will sweep under the rug? Do you believe Tiffany's proof or think David's prayers will somehow wash it away? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't hold back. Hit like if you're here for the real tea, smash subscribe for the next round of receipts, and turn on those notifications because trust me, this story is only getting hotter.